In the winter of 865 AD, the winds howled off the North Sea, and sails rose like wings of death over the horizon. Not just a raiding party, not a handful of longships for loot and glory. This was something else, an army, a great heathen army, and its purpose was not gold, but vengeance. England, divided and feuding, would soon be soaked in blood, and the names of its conquerors would echo through history like thunder on stormy seas. Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan Whiteshirt, Ubbe Ragnarsson, and Guthrum. And in their path, one unlikely Saxon would rise. Alfred, not yet the great, not yet a legend, but soon all of that would change. Ragnarr Lothbrok, part myth, part man, all fury. Raider of Paris, tormentor of England, his life was a tapestry of glory, stitched with blood and salt. But one day his luck ran out. Captured by King Aelle of Northumbria, Ragnar was cast into a pit of venomous snakes. That message to his sons on his deathbed, how the little pigs will grunt when they hear how the old boar suffered. A prophecy and a curse for King Aelle. And his sons, though not present with Ragnar, definitely fulfilled this prophecy. Ivar the Boneless, the most enigmatic of them all, a brilliant tactician. Halfdan Whiteshirt, his brother, fierce, loyal, and merciless. Ubbe, pragmatic and fearless. And Björn Ironside, who we haven't covered yet, whose future wouldn't actually lie so much in England, but in the Mediterranean, where he'd one day terrify the coasts of Italy. The sons of Ragnar assembled allies. From Denmark, from Norway, even Sweden, warriors came, driven not just by blood, but by the promise of land, plunder, and power. Thus began the march of the great heathen army. In 865 AD, the North Sea churned with sails. The great heathen army landed in East Anglia, and the kingdoms of England trembled. This was no hit-and-run raid. It was an occupation force, organised, determined, vast. East Anglia, under King Edmund, bought peace with horses, but it was a delay, not a solution. In 866, the army surged north into Northumbria, where a civil war between King Aelle and King Osbert had weakened the realm. York, once a Roman fortress, fell to the Vikings with shocking speed. Aelle and Osbert joined forces in desperation, but their counterattack came too late. They died in battle, or so the chroniclers say. Legends tell another tale, that Aelle was captured, and that Ivar carved open his ribs from behind, pulled out his lungs, and spread them like wings. The dreaded blood eagle. A myth? Perhaps. But myths have power. The Vikings now ruled York, and with it Northumbria. The year was 867, and the army turned south. They marched on Mercia, seizing Nottingham. King Burgred of Mercia called for aid, and the kingdom of Wessex responded. For the first time, Ethelred, king of Wessex, and his younger brother Alfred took to the field. Their army retreated without a fight. For the moment. But in the year 869, the Vikings returned to East Anglia, and this time there were no peace negotiations. King Edmund fought, and he died a martyr's death, bound, beaten, and riddled with arrows. His head was cast into the woods, where the story goes, a loyal wolf guarded it until it was recovered. Around this time, Ivar the Boneless disappears from English sources. Some believe that he sailed west to Ireland, where he became king of Dublin. Others say that he died, and that his body lies in a mass grave near Repton. Perhaps his mission of revenge was complete, and it was his time to pass from this world. But nevertheless, command of the great heathen army passed to Halfdan and Ubbe, and soon to a new name, Guthrum. The Vikings turned towards Wessex, the last kingdom standing. In 871, they clashed at the Battle of Ashdown. The Saxons won, but barely, and the cost was heavy in blood. King Ethelred died, and his younger brother, Alfred, became king. He was not a warrior by nature. He was studious and pious, but he learned fast. I mean, he had to. Guthrum, now in charge of the army, launched wave after wave. He seized Reading, fought at Basing, and occupied London. Alfred used guerrilla tactics, strategic retreats, buying time, fortifying towns. He refused to be baited into an unnecessary slaughter. But in 876, Guthrum made his boldest move. He led a winter attack, capturing Wareham and then Exeter. And then, in 878, came the darkest hour. Guthrum launched the surprise attack in January, and Alfred was driven into the marshes of Athelney. Reduced to a fugitive, hiding with a small band of loyal men. The kingdom was nearly lost. The Vikings controlled the land. The Saxons controlled only the hope that they might endure. But Alfred refused to just wither away and die. In the swamps of Somerset he regrouped, recruited, trained, prayed, and then he struck back. By May of 878, Alfred had gathered enough strength for a decisive stand. The armies met at the Battle of Edington. It was brutal and desperate, but Alfred won. Guthrum fled to Chippenham, where he then surrendered. And history turned. Alfred offered him peace on the condition of conversion. Guthrum was then baptized and took on the name Ethelstan, and was treated not as a prisoner, but as a Christian king. The Treaty of Wedmore followed, dividing England. Wessex remained free, and the rest became the Danelaw, a region where Norse law ruled and Viking lords settled permanently. The great heathen army came for revenge. It stayed for conquest, and it changed England forever. It broke kingdoms, built new ones, and planted Norse blood in English soil. The sons of Ragnarr passed into legend. Ivar, Halfdan, Ubbe, Björn, and Alfred, once a fugitive king, would earn a new name, Alfred the Great, the only English monarch ever to bear that title. He rebuilt, reformed, and resisted. And the storm had passed, but the scars it left shaped the nation that would rise from the wreckage. This was not just a Viking raid. It was an invasion, a reckoning, and a war that rewrote England.